Me and my friends would have killed the Big 12 with hammers. I can tell you that much. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It would be easier to host a podcast about quantum physics. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Look, I'm on a hometown visit. I'm back home. I get to see some family go on a trip, and I thought, you know what? This weekend's going to be a little bit more tame. I can just take it easy. No reaction show on Sunday. And this is what you give me. This is what this conference gives me. I should have known. We open the show by going through every single game this weekend in Big 12 play. Then we will talk about college football playoff odds, which are somehow not zero. And we'll end the show with BYU, the great collapse in the Big 12 this season. What happened? If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. And based on this mayhem, I would love to keep my job. This is like, you ever seen Saving Private Ryan, the opening scene, which is Normandy, which actually did happen, but it's less dark if I make it into like a movie reference. That's what this is like. This is like just a battlefield of, you look around and you go, oh, that's not good. This is really not. Like, we're like the boats. This is just not, uh-oh. And you better not be good, because the second you're good in this conference, Kansas is coming. Death will come to you. None of it makes any sense. Arizona State was 3-9 last season. They are now 9-2, a chance to go 10-2, a chance to go 10-2, and they will beat Arizona and become that 10-2 and go to the Big 12 championship game. There could be, at the end of this whole thing, Max Olson tweets, a four-way tie at 7-2 in conference between Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, and Iowa State, which would give us number 1 seed Arizona State, number 2 seed Iowa State in Arlington. Oh my. This weekend's games. BYU, I'll start with you. I was so mad in yesterday's instant reaction show, I called him Aaron Rodriguez. Fire Aaron Rodriguez and fire Aaron Roderick while you're at it. Aaron Rodriguez, if you're out there, sorry you got caught in the crossfires, but it's so bad, it's worth firing 2 people. I have read this tweet before. I will read this tweet again. It is from Dylan. And Dylan says, firing an OC after a 9-0 start is crazy. No. Scoring 0 touchdowns in 60 minutes over the 2 biggest games of the season. That's what's crazy. Good tweet. True tweet. For Arizona State, Cam Scadaboo, 150 on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Jay Hill, I like you, man. Can you stop the running back? We know they're going to run the football. For Arizona State, the offense led by Jordan Tyson, the defense in the first half that was impeccable. BYU just couldn't do a thing, which seems to be a trend now. Arizona State, at this level, is a juggernaut. If they had not lost to Cincinnati, after what we saw from Alabama losing to Oklahoma, which that's going to be a point of topic of conversation this week on the show about how the SEC is just a bunch of medium-sized teams that are kind of beating each other. There are no elite squads, which maybe the Big 12's that in itself too, and that's okay. It doesn't mar your conference as something terrible. It's just kind of chaotic. Arizona State, without that Cincinnati loss or that Texas Tech loss, who they beat the brakes off of today, you're an at-large college football playoff team. I'll talk more about that game later, I should say. Colorado, Kansas. I don't know. I mean, did this say more about Kansas or more about Colorado? Because Colorado had played so well defensively, especially in the second half, to the beginning of the season. And you're like, oh my gosh, this Colorado defense is so much improved. And Travis Hunter is that guy. And on offense, he's that guy. He's the Heisman winner. He's still the Heisman winner. Deion Sanders is legit. He could possibly go to New York as well. And then this. Devin Neal rips 207 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Kansas, all of a sudden, is 4-4 in Big 12 play, 5-6 overall. They've built a winning streak that will carry them to a bowl game with a win against Baylor, who's also apparently just this unstoppable world beater too. Colorado, I get it, man. I get it. Like, Kansas is really good. But same thing for BYU. If you're going to be the big dog, act like it. Play like it. Big dogs don't get upset 37-21 and score 7 points in the second half altogether. That's bad. The refs weren't conspiring against you. There wasn't like, oh, the Kansas players were mean. This was a loss. You took a loss off the chin. Does this mean Deion Sanders is a bad coach? No. Does this mean Shedeur Sanders is bad or Travis Hunter is bad or they shouldn't be in the Heisman conversation? No. Does it take Colorado out of the college football playoff? Yeah. Out of the Big 12 championship? Very likely. Oh, there's just a great chance that it's Arizona State, Iowa State, and that doesn't make any sense at all. Speaking of Iowa State, 31-28. Utah finds new ways, new terrible, horrendous ways to lose. I don't even know, man. I mean, finally, you're kind of forced to make a quarterback change because Isaac Wilson wasn't bad, and I've been asking for Utah to just run the football. They didn't do that at a high level. The defense is what kept you in this game. That's not a shock to anybody. Isaac Wilson was 8 for 8, 74 yards. Was it intricate? Not necessarily, but he was solid. Then, dirty play, gator roll, gets hurt. You bring in Batari and the Italian Stallion. He wasn't crisp, but he gave you a spark, it felt like a little bit there at the end. He got you in field goal range. He gave you an opportunity to go win the game on a night where Micah Bernard was 17 carries, 42 yards. Batari able to run the football too. Where's that been? Have you not wanted to win? Can I not just see that based on how bad Isaac Wilson's been for a good portion of the season? And then, the missed field goal, but I don't even... Becker's a good kicker, too. I just don't... Cole, please. One thing to keep just to create pure chaos and go to OT. But nope. And now Iowa State is probably in the Big 12 championship game. 10 wins. It's only right they lose to Kansas State because that's what the Big 12 is. Rocco Beck, I need a little bit more. Even the run game, I need a little bit more. Only 123 yards. But, wow, win's a win. TCU rolled them. Noah Fafita to Tet McMillan. And Tet McMillan is now the leading receiver at Arizona already. I don't know, man. I don't know. The defense was putrid. You're telling me Brent Brennan has this team and went 2-6 in the Big 12 while Arizona State is rolling people and they were 3-9 last year? That doesn't make any sense. TCU, Josh Hoover, you're good. I think this TCU team is the streakiest team maybe in the Big 12, but I say that they've won 4 of 5. Their only loss is that juggernaut of a Baylor team who all of a sudden can't lose. So TCU, good for you. Texas Tech over Oklahoma State. What a good old-fashioned Big 12 shootout. Reminded me of Patrick Mahomes, Baron Morton. Finally, Ollie Gordon's running the football, 15 carries, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, you best bet Deshaun Stribling. Deshaun Stribling's going to catch the ball and do something. Still, Oklahoma State can't find a way to win. They're 3-8 right now, 0-8 in Big 12 play. Somebody has to get fired. Texas Tech 5-3, 7-4. They'll finish 8-4. That's good. West Virginia over UCF in the can't we fire Neal Brown still? You're 5-3 in Big 12 play. Wow. Okay. Wow. Good for you, I guess, if you want to keep the coach. Baylor. Juggernaut, dude. Was it ugly? Yes. Yes. Pick 6. Sawyer Robertson wasn't perfect, but he was good. 20-10. Your defense was great. Houston scored 13 points in 2 games combined now. The Baylor Bears are one of the hottest teams in the Big 12. I'll speak more on them in my power rankings tomorrow. Then Kansas State. DJ Giddens. Yeah. Brendan Swarsby's good. I mean, Cincinnati's still good. There's no reason the Cincy team should miss a bowl game. I'm very sad and disappointed with how Scott Satterfield finished the season. And now Kansas State, 8-3, playing Iowa State, who's 9-2, in the biggest game in the Big 12 next week with Arlington on the line. Coming up, who's going to go to the college football playoff from the Big 12? This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, because of course it is. FanDuel's where I go, man. Like FanDuel Hoss. I need a best bet this week. Can you hook me up with something special? And FanDuel says, yes, Drake. That's what we're here for. Because when you tackle the NFL or college football, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. Middle of the game. Check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play. So much more on that same page where you place your bets. Go to FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet hits. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more. Do it with FanDuel. They are an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Download the app and visit FanDuel. And, buddy, I'm telling you, do it today. The college football playoff of the Big 12. We're not in a good spot. There is not a realm right now that I see where the Big 12 will miss the college football playoff outright. Boise State, who plays, mind you, in the Mountain West and got a real harrowing win over Wyoming this week, will likely be the 4 seed in the college football playoff. Why, you ask? Now, look, this is where I could go into a dour conversation about how the Big 12 has been beating itself up and the Big 12's cannibalized itself and the Big 12 just doesn't look how it should. And do we even deserve to get one college football playoff team? And, buddy, look at the SEC. That's a league full of teams that want you to think they're elite, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Our Oklahoma State team beat their Arkansas team, who pummeled Tennessee. You know, like, transitive property doesn't always work out, but we're talking about an SEC that's beating each other up. And no one's saying, oh, the SEC stinks. So many people are saying, oh, the Big 12's not up to par. The Big 12's not good. Who in their right mind on that committee is putting us, Colorado, okay? Colorado, who has 3 losses behind Boise State, who, they only lost to Oregon by 3. Yeah, that was in week 2. And remember, based on Notre Dame's loss in Northern Illinois, we don't count week 2. We don't count early season games around here, especially losses. Remember that time they beat Portland State? What about Utah State, Hawaii? Their toughest game was a UNLV team that just didn't really pan out down the stretch. That's who we're hanging our hat on. That's who you're telling me the team that beat Nevada 28-21 is better than 2 Heisman candidates in Colorado. 17-13 against Wyoming. They're better than a BYU team that went on the road and beat SMU. Oh, I forgot. That SMU game was so early in the season it doesn't count anymore. We forget about those. Boise State is better than an Iowa State team that analytically, efficiency-wise, has been in the top 25 on offense and defense nationally, week in and week out this season, even when they slip up. Put Boise State in the Big 12. Maybe they go 7-4. Maybe they're sitting 7-4 right now. Maybe they're sitting 8-3 right now. Could be. But they're not in the Big 12. They're in the Mountain West, and they're winning against teams that couldn't compete in this league, and they don't have to compete against anybody. Anybody. And the one time they did was the Oregon game, and they lost. They still lost. There's an L. That's what the little letter right there is, an L. SMU, we've beaten them head-to-head. I mean, I looked up and down the SMU schedule. Like, seriously? Houston Christian to TCU, who they pummeled? Yeah, for sure. I'll give it to you. Florida State, they're bad. Louisville, come to find out, they're not very good at football. Stanford, Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia. BYU would beg for that schedule and then boat race all those teams. Similar, boat race wouldn't be the right word, but they would get a W in the same way they did on the road against SMU. What about also in the college football playoff rankings? I mean, we would all this talk of like, oh, well, maybe Army slips in there. Even I brought that up. What about Tulane? No. The team from the American is not going to be the 5th highest ranked conference champion. I don't care if it is Tulane at 9-2. Come play a Big 12 schedule. The efficiency rating, the Sagarin rating of the Big 12. So as topsy-turvy, wishy-washy as the SEC has been here throughout all of the year, as volatile as that's been, the Sagarin rating has the Big 12 as the 2nd best conference in college football behind the Big 10 because there is no depth at the bottom of that league. Whereas in the Big 12, arguably our worst team, Oklahoma State, has a Doak Walker award-winning running back. Our 2nd worst team in Utah has a top 10 defense in the country from an efficiency standpoint. And now you're saying BYU can't go to the college football playoff. Now you're saying that Iowa State or Colorado or Arizona State can't go to the college football playoff. Look, I get it. They're not sexy. Iowa State's not sexy. We don't bring college game day to Ames. We're not firing it up because the Sun Devils are hosting Kirk Herbstreit and the boys. We're not so excited that Provo, Utah is the site of college game day this weekend. ESPN wants to go to the SEC. We know that. We know that. These schools don't have the same brand of even a South Carolina. I struggle to disagree with you there. But leaving the Big 12 out altogether, in favor of a team like Indiana even. I beg of you. Give Indiana. I saw somebody who was like, well, Indiana lost 38 to 15, but it was fluky. There were moments of the game where the score doesn't reflect the actual outcome. But I looking at the box score, I'm looking at the score itself. Your quarterback had 68 passing yards, 8 for 18. Your leading rusher had 79 yards. Nobody did anything spectacular against Will Howard, who's a Big 12 quarterback, by the way. That same Indiana team with games against Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska. I know Colorado not lost to Nebraska, but that was week 2, man. We already talked about this. Those games don't count. I beg some of these Big 10 teams to play the depth of a schedule that a Big 12 team is going to get. I beg some of these SEC teams like Texas to do it. Texas schedule, Colorado State, Michigan, UTSA, UL Monroe, Mississippi State. Name me one good team so far. Then they beat Oklahoma, who say, like, yes, they won against Alabama. They're still not a very good football team. Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky. What? I mean, you put BYU in that schedule. You put Iowa State in that schedule. They're going to the SEC championship. You know, like, listen to the teams that I just read you. It's stunning how the only team on the Texas schedule that I'm like, yeah, we probably lose to Georgia. But just in the same way that we would lose to Georgia, Georgia would lose to Ole Miss, who lost to Kentucky, you know? Like, and again, transitive property doesn't work all that much. But I think we have to understand these college football playoff juggernauts are not who you think they are. That's my case that I play with the committee, is to actually watch the football and consider the depth of a conference, because the Big 12 is deep. It's not just this rollover league. And the conference champion will certainly get in. I'm going to die on that hill. No more Army. None of this, oh, well, Tulane. No, we're done. We're done. Boise State, sure. Give them the 4 seed. I don't care. I don't care. They didn't play anybody. Give them the 4 seed. Give us the 12. We'll go on the road. We'll play your 5 seed Indiana, and we'll show you what the depth of the league has built for us. Teams that are formidable. Clip it. We'll play your 5 seed India. We'll play your 5 seed Notre Dame. 5 seed Miami. I don't care. We'll go on the road. We'll send Iowa State. We'll send Arizona State as our team to do it. And it'll work out damn well for us. Coming up, BYU, whatever happened to you? Today's show is brought to you by Game Time, and I'm going to tell you about Game Time. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is the place to go for tickets, and right now, I want to go very soon to an Avett Brothers concert at Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina on New Year's Eve. Game Time. That's it, bud. Like, I go to Game Time and they tell me, hey, go to that Avett Brothers concert with the cheapest ticket guaranteed, or 110% of the difference to you. Curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. Super deals, seat views, that lowest price guarantee, and you get job loss protection, event cancellation protection. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account. I gave you that step, right? Redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Download Game Time today. BYU falls to Arizona State, or should I say BYU gets killed, smacked, shellacked by Arizona State, finds a way to come back, and then loses in the end. First and foremost, congratulations, Arizona State. You won this football game. You dominated a large portion of this football game. Second most, when I say there needs to be a change in Provo, is it Jake Retzlaff, who got to the last drive, peed down his leg, missed some key throws an interception? I don't think so. He put you in a position, as he's done a lot this season, to win the game late. Is it Kalani Sitake? That timeout was infuriating. Brother, we need those 3 timeouts. We've got to have those 3 timeouts. 2-minute warning still there. I get it. That's 4 technical timeouts. If we just kind of let things play out, where would time have been? Who knows? But I don't think it's Kalani Sitake. Is it Jay Hill, the defensive coordinator? I mean, the defense didn't look great. They couldn't guard Cam Scatterbo. I could have told you Arizona State's going to run the football. I still don't think so. The defense played well, only allowed 7 points in the entire second half. You know who it is? You know who I think I am finally done with? A-Rod. And I have, week after week, told you that Aaron Rodriguez, the offensive coordinator of BYU, we can't fire him. The last 2 weeks, man, this is his best called game. He found a way to win it in the end. This is a great tweet from Cert Opinion. Cert Opinion. I don't even know what that means. It says, fire an OC after a 9-0 start is crazy. He says, no. Crazy is scoring 0 touchdowns in 60 minutes over the 2 biggest games of the season. That's what crazy is. Listen, if you are a BYU staffer, if you're a BYU fan, you're like, we shouldn't start firing people. You've got to take a look in the mirror because guess what? As a podcast host, if I get to the most key part of the season, the Big 12 title hunt, and I stop doing shows, if I get to the key part of the season, the title hunt, and I just start kind of slacking off and making my shows 15 minutes instead of 30, if I stop doing my job when it counts the most, I am held accountable for that. I lose my job. You're a CPA. Tax season rolls around. Your biggest client calls. Says, hey, man, you file my taxes, you're my CPA. Yeah, I know this is the biggest part of the year, and that's kind of what I do, and I'm supposed to step up in these big moments. You're my biggest client. This is the moment I shine, but sorry about that. That just kind of didn't. We were taught very early in the year the horses are in the stable for the BYU offense. We have seen Jake Retzlaff at a premier level. We have seen the running game produce at times. We've seen the offensive line produce. I don't understand, barring insane major, and there have been injuries. There have been injuries to the O-line. Everyone has dealt across the board in this conference with the same manner of injuries. BYU is not an outlier here. Let me ask, without reprimand, let me ask a reasonable question where you can't go, this guy's an idiot. He wants somebody fired or held accountable. How Kansas is playing its best football. How Arizona State is playing its best football. How Baylor is playing great football. How? Where did that come from? And why can't you, the team that had the keys to a Big 12 championship, do that? I wonder. And I have held my tongue. First 3 games of the year, that SMU game, namely, I was like, I don't even know. I don't really know if you hold on to this guy. Now, after weeks and weeks of backtracking, you're one offensive coordinator away who's not Kalani Sitake's buddy from really contending. Retzlaff wasn't spectacular. 22 for 38 is not great. But I don't pin it on that kid. You ran the ball 23 times for 94 yards. That's not very good. Well, this guy talking on the microphone has never played a down of football. This guy talking on the microphone can read a box score and tell you that's not good. And I'm not asking to be hired as the BYU offensive coordinator. I'm asking for somebody who, in the thick of the most important part of the season, can lead a team to just one touchdown in the most key 60 minutes that you will play. And A-Rod did not do that. This was an infuriating watch. 21-0, 21-3. A terrible start for BYU. If you play 3 quarters of football, you win this game, quite possibly. You just didn't. And it was one side of the ball that was real glaring. The offense. The defense played well when it mattered, for sure. 100% played really well when it mattered most. And the offense didn't. Part of that's on your quarterback, sure. I'm not going to exonerate him entirely. But your OC just didn't put your team in a good spot again this week. That just creates chaos, the Big 12 championship. Now, Arizona State might be in Arlington. After going 3-9 last year, Arizona State might be in Arlington. Dillingham, I don't know what that last minute, I'm a schemer. I'm smarter than you. We're going to have the quarterback run backwards and throw the ball up in the air. Almost backfired. Hey, let's do the traditional thing where we just punt or do normal stuff. Just run the clock out the way that everybody else has done it for all of history. I am blown away by the coaching staff still. Blown away by the coaching staff of Arizona State. Blown away by their ability to control games. They had the ball for 35 minutes of this game to BYU's 25. There's about a 5-minute difference in the first half, about a 5-minute difference in the second half. So they played very even, very consistently. Penalties for Arizona State weren't great. 7 for 13 on third down is 2 for 5 on fourth down for Arizona State. Not great. 154 rushing yards. It felt like Arizona State kept, and the 7 for 13 kind of reflects this on third down. Arizona State kept getting in short third down or short fourth down situations and just giving the ball to Cam Scatterbo. Like maybe the lack of a kicker somehow helped Arizona State here, which might be a hot take, but it forces them to go for it on third and fourth down, and they had success on third down. Not as much on fourth down, but success on third down, especially in short yardage, just powering the football with Scatterbo or Sam Levitt and the defense of Arizona State, which I have not been blown away with eye test just watching this team play. The analytics, though, are really solid, and you were solid again today. That loss to Cincinnati on the road, I'm going to go back to that. And I'm sure all Arizona State fans can think, wow, we would be 10-1 in the Big 12 championship unopposed right now. You'd already punched your ticket to the Big 12 title. But instead, that loss at Cincinnati puts you in a really tough spot. That loss at Texas Tech. You play either of those teams today, and I'm confident that Arizona State wins by 10, 14, or more. What a crowd. Rush the field. This is what it's like to be great at football. 40% of the stands probably were BYU fans, a whole lot of blue and white. And I'm proud that BYU was able to show up the way it could. It helps grow the Big 12. But now, the way our conference sits, pure chaos at the top. Chaos drives entertainment. You and I are entertained, sure, no doubt. But the problem is it doesn't drive national viewership. It doesn't drive national exposure. Losses like what Colorado had, those don't drive. They're not the driving factor to people giving money to this conference, to us signing TV deals. Champions are. BYU was right there to do it. That is tough, man. If I'm a BYU fan, I'm just not really sure. I'm not 2 weeks ago where the vibe was, playing a dilapidated Kansas team and an Arizona State squad you expected to beat. And now this, man. Someone has to answer for it, right? And oh, well, BYU way exceeded expectations. Nope, expectations reset. You played a high level. You beat Kansas State the way you did. Expectations reset. Now you're standing here doing this. Someone has to answer for that. I don't think it's Kalani. I don't think it's Jake. I don't think it's really anybody on the defense or the defensive staff. Though there have been more holes defensively recently, I still don't think it's those guys you point to. This was tough. You got killed until you didn't anymore, and the illusion of hope killed you all over again. Come back tomorrow. Let's give you the power rankings in the Big 12. This is a crazy league. I don't even know what to do with it at this point. Recording shows outdoors. Wild. This has been and always will be. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Locked on. Go say grande.